Ren never imagined his life would bring him to this moment. The air of Kareth's capital was heavy with smoke. The Dreth had been attacking for months, and the once busy city was now only ruins and silent streets. The tall towers, symbols of his people's pride, had been reduced to broken stone and twisted metal. Ren had fought in 6 battles already. Each time, they had lost ground. Each time. His unit had fewer soldiers than before. His armor felt heavier than it used to. His weapon, a long staff with an energy blade, had become almost an extension of his arm, but lately it felt more like a burden. He was tired not just in body, but in spirit. That was when the humans arrived. It happened without warning. One morning, strange ships filled the sky, cutting through the clouds like sharp silver wings. Ren had never seen ships like these. They were shaped for speed and strength, with markings he did not understand. The people of Kareth feared it was another invasion, but the ships did not open fire. Instead, they landed on the main airfield, and out came the humans. Ren had only heard stories of them, stories told by old traders and pilots who claimed to have seen humans in far-off systems. They said humans were bold, restless creatures. Some described them as dangerous, others as fiercely loyal. No one on Kareth had ever fought alongside them before. The leader of the human group was a tall woman with sharp eyes and short dark hair. She introduced herself as Captain Mara. Her voice was calm but firm as she spoke to the Kareth generals. "We heard your distress calls," she said. "We are here to help." Help. The word sounded almost strange to Ren. In this war, help had been rare. Allies had promised aid before, but none had truly stood beside Kareth when the Dreth came. Yet here the humans were, offering their soldiers weapons and ships. The Kareth Council was divided. Some feared the humans had their own plans. Others thought accepting help from an unknown species was too great a risk. But the Dreth had already pushed deep into Kareth's lands, and the city was close to falling. In the end, they had no choice, and so Ren was chosen. He was assigned to join the human forces as a liaison, someone to guide them, explain local terrain, and share information about Dreth tactics. His commander told him, "Watch them closely, learn their ways, and remember you represent Kareth now." The next day, Ren stepped into the human camp for the first time. It was nothing like he expected. The camp was alive with movement. Soldiers in strange armor worked on their gear. Engineers carried heavy crates of supplies, and medics moved quickly between the rows of tents. Even though they had traveled across space to reach this place, none of them looked worn down. There was a sense of focus, of readiness, in everything they did. Ren noticed something else. There was laughter. In the middle of a war, with danger only hours away, some of the humans were telling stories and smiling. It confused him. On Kareth, soldiers rarely spoke unless necessary. Here, they seemed to find energy in each other's company. That was when Captain Mara approached him. "You're Ren?" she asked, her eyes scanning him quickly, as if measuring his strength. "Yes," Ren replied. "I am here to guide your unit." "Good," she said. "You'll be with my squad. Stay close. And don't be afraid to speak up if you see something we don't." Ren nodded, though he was not sure what to expect. Mara handed him a small device that linked to their communication network. "We fight as a unit," she explained. "That means we share what we see. We cover each other. You'll get used to it." They walked together through the camp as Mara introduced him to her squad. There was Ben, a tall soldier with a steady voice, Lena, who was quick with both her hands and her humor, and Yarrow, the youngest of them all, but with eyes that already held the weight of war. Ian listened as they spoke to each other, their words quick and light, even when they talked about the coming battle. He could not understand it. How could they seem so calm? The Dreth were ruthless, and the next attack could come at any moment. That night, Ren sat outside one of the human tents, looking at the stars. The sky over Kareth had always been beautiful, but lately it felt like the stars were fading behind the shadow of war. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to see Mara. "You're wondering about us," she said. Ren hesitated. "I've never seen soldiers act this way. You're not tense. You're not afraid. Mara sat down beside him, her eyes on the same stars. Fear is always there, she said simply. But we don't let it stop us. We prepare. We trust each other, and we move forward. Ren thought about her words on Kareth when fear came. Soldiers often fell back, regrouping far from the enemy. But these humans seemed to lean toward the fight instead of away from it. Why? He asked quietly. Mara looked at him, a faint smile on her face. Because if we stop moving, the enemy gains ground. We don't give them that chance. The conversation stayed in Ren's mind long after Mara left. He wondered if this was why the humans had come so far to help strangers they barely knew. Perhaps they believed that moving forward was not just a tactic, but a way of life. The next morning, Ren would march with them for the first time. The Dreth were preparing another attack, and Mara's squad had been ordered to hold the eastern gate of the city. Ren checked his armor, tightened the straps on his weapon, and followed the humans out of camp. As they walked toward the battlefield, he glanced at Mara. She moved with the same steady pace, her eyes sharp and clear. The others followed her without question. Ren felt the weight of his duty, but also something new: curiosity. He had been told to watch the humans and learn their ways. Now, he wanted to understand more than just their tactics. He wanted to know what kept them moving forward when others would fall back. Ryan did not know it yet, but the answer would change everything he believed about war. The eastern gate of Kareth's capital stood like a wounded guardian. Parts of the wall were scorched, and the great metal doors had been repaired so many times that the patches looked like mismatched armor. The Dreth had tried to break through here 3 times already, and Ren knew they would try again. Ren walked beside Captain Mara as her squad moved into position. The humans carried strange weapons, short but heavy-looking rifles that hummed softly with energy. They wore armor that was lighter than Kareth's, but every piece seemed built for movement. When they reached the gate, Mara began giving orders without hesitation. Ben, you're on the left flank. Lena, right side with Yarrow. Ren, you stay with me in the center. Ren obeyed, though part of him wondered why she placed herself in the most dangerous spot, on Kareth. Commanders usually stayed farther back to give orders from safety. Mara, however, seemed determined to face the enemy head-on. The humans worked quickly, setting up defensive barriers and placing small devices along the ground. Ren knelt beside one of them and asked, "What is this?" Lena grinned. "A pulse." "Mine. If Dreth step on it, they're going to have a bad day." Ren studied it with interest. Kareth's army used heavy traps, but these were small and easy to hide. He began to understand that humans valued speed and surprise over sheer size. As they prepared, soldiers from other squads passed by, exchanging quick words or pats on the shoulder. Ren noticed that each greeting was brief but full of trust. Even without long speeches, they seemed to remind each other that no one was alone here. When the sun began to set, the squad gathered near a small portable heater. The air grew colder, and shadows stretched across the broken streets. Ren sat quietly, listening to the humans talk. They spoke about home, about forests, oceans, and skies on planets far away. They laughed about small things, like a misfired weapon during training, or a time someone got lost in their own ship. Ren was surprised to hear so much warmth in their voices. On Kareth, soldiers rarely spoke of personal memories before battle. The fear of losing someone made such conversations painful, but here, the humans seemed to draw strength from their memories. Mara noticed Ren's silence and spoke. "You're thinking again." Ren looked at her. "I'm trying to understand you. You talk about home before a fight. You laugh as if there is no danger." She leaned back, resting her hands on her knees. "It's because danger is always there. If we forget the good things, we lose sight of why we're fighting." Her words settled deep in Ren's mind. Perhaps this was why they seemed so unshaken. They carried reminders of what they wanted to protect. Night fell, and the camp became quieter. The soldiers took turns keeping watch. Ren stayed awake beside Mara for the first shift. The city around them was silent except for the wind moving through broken windows and empty streets. Suddenly, a distant sound broke the stillness, a deep, echoing rumble. Mara's head turned sharply. They're coming, she said. The squad moved fast. Ben checked the left barrier. Lena and Yarrow tightened their positions, and Mara signaled for Ren to follow her to the center. Through the shadows beyond the gate, shapes began to move. The Dreth were advancing, tall, armored figures with glowing eyes, their weapons heavy and cruel-looking. Ren felt his heartbeat quicken. He had faced them before and knew their strength. But beside him, the humans did not waver. Mara gave the order, "Hold until my mark." The Dreth came closer, their steps heavy on the cracked ground. Then Mara's hand rose and dropped. Now, the air exploded with sound. Human rifles lit up the night, sending streams of energy into the enemy lines. The pulse mines activated, bursting with sharp flashes that knocked Dreth soldiers off their feet. Ren joined in, his energy blade slicing through the first Dreth that reached the gate. The humans didn't just hold their ground, they pushed forward. Ben advanced on the left, forcing the Dreth back step by step. Lena and Yarrow moved like a single unit on the right, covering each other as they fired. Mara stayed at the front, her voice clear over the comms, giving quick, precise commands. Ren found himself matching their pace when his instincts told him to pull back. He instead followed Mara's lead, moving in closer to the enemy. He realized they weren't reckless, they chose every advance carefully, pressing forward when the enemy faltered. After what felt like hours but was likely minutes, the Dreth began to fall back. The humans didn't let them regroup. They pushed until the enemy was well beyond the gate, then finally stopped. Breathing hard, Ren looked around. The humans were already checking each other, making sure everyone was safe. Yarrow had a cut on his arm, but he laughed when Lena pointed it out, saying, "It's nothing. I've had worse cooking dinner." Ren stared at them, trying to understand how they could be so calm after such a fight. He remembered Kareth battles where victory still left soldiers pale and shaking. Here, it seemed different. When the squad returned to their position, Mara walked beside Ren. "You did well tonight," she said. Her eye nodded. "I followed you forward. It felt strange at first." "You'll get used to it," Mara replied. "When we see an opening, we take it. If we stop, we give the enemy time to recover. That's not how we win." Her words echoed what she had told him the night before, but now Ren had seen it in action. The humans didn't just defend, they kept moving, kept pressing, until the enemy had no choice but to retreat. As the night quieted again, Ren sat with the squad near the heater. They shared a small meal, human food mixed with Kareth supplies, and traded simple stories. For the first time in many cycles, Ren felt something he thought he had lost in this war. Hope. The morning after the fight at the eastern gate was cold and silent. Ren woke to the sound of boots moving over stone. The humans were already awake, checking weapons, repairing armor, and preparing for the next move. There was no sign of hesitation in their faces, only focus. Mara handed Ren a canteen of water. "Drink. We move out in 20 minutes. "Move out?" Ren asked. "The Dreth have fallen back. Should we not wait and fortify?" Mara shook her head. "If we wait, they regroup. We strike before they do." Ren was still not used to this idea. On Kareth, armies often stayed put after a battle, building stronger defenses and letting soldiers recover. Humans seemed to believe recovery happened while still advancing. The squad gathered and followed Mara through the broken streets. The city felt like a ghost, windows shattered, doors hanging loose. The sound of their boots echoing in the emptiness. Ren walked in the middle, watching how they moved. Every soldier checked corners, rooftops, and shadows without needing to be told. After an hour, they reached an old marketplace. The place was in ruins, but the wide open space made Ren uneasy. He knew Dreth scouts liked to hide among rubble and wait for targets to cross. Mara seemed to sense the same thing. She raised a hand in motion for silence. The squad spread out, taking cover behind fallen walls and broken stalls. Ren followed her into the shadow of an old stone arch. Then came the sound of faint clinking of metal against stone. Dreth. A group of them appeared from behind the far side of the market, their armor scratched but still dangerous. They had heavy weapons and moved with slow confidence, not yet aware they had been spotted. Mara spoke quietly into the comm. Hold positions. Wait until they cross the center. The Dreth reached the middle of the marketplace. Mara's hand lowered. Now, the squad opened fire in perfect unison. Energy bolts lit the air, striking the Dreth before they could react. Ren leapt from cover, his energy blade flashing as he struck the first enemy in range. Ben and Lena advanced from the left, Jarl covering them with rapid fire. The Dreth tried to pull back, but the humans did not give them space. Step by step, they pushed forward, forcing the enemy toward the edge of the market. Ren realized they were not chasing the Dreth randomly, they were guiding them toward a narrow alley, a place where the enemy's numbers would not matter. When the Dreth entered the alley, Mar gave a sharp signal. Two small devices were tossed forward. The explosion trapped the Dreth between collapsed walls, cutting off their escape in minutes. The fight was over. Ren stood breathing heavily, his blade glowing faintly in the cold light. He looked at Mara. You planned this. Always have a next step, Mara said. Never let them choose the ground. The squad searched the area for supplies. Ren found himself watching the humans more than the battlefield. They moved quickly, wasting no time, but also checked each other for injuries. Even small scrapes were treated. As they finished, Jarl laughed at something Lena said about the fight. Ren couldn't understand how they could still find humor here. On Kareth, after battle, soldiers stayed quiet, speaking only about losses. Here, the humans spoke about moments of teamwork, about clever moves someone had made, as if they were already preparing for the next fight. The march continued. They left the marketplace behind and moved deeper into the city. Mara explained that their orders were to secure an old power station before the Dreth could claim it. As they neared the station, they saw smoke in the distance. Dreth forces had arrived first and were setting up defenses. Mara knelt beside a broken wall, studying the scene. We'll go in from the east side, she decided. Ben, take Lena and circle around. Jarl, with me and Ren. Ren followed Mara through narrow streets until they reached a side entrance. It was half blocked by debris, but they slipped inside quietly. The sound of Dreth voices echoed from somewhere above. Mara raised her rifle, moving step by step. Ren mirrored her actions, feeling a strange sense of unity for the first time. He wasn't just following orders, he was moving as part of the squad. They reached the main chamber of the station. Dreth soldiers stood near the control panels, unaware of their presence. Mara gave the signal. The fight was quick but fierce. Energy fire flashed in the shadows. Ren's blade met a Dreth weapon, sparks flying as they clashed. Beside him, Jarl's shot struck true, keeping the enemy off balance. When the last Dreth fell, Mara stepped forward and secured the controls. Ben and Lena entered from the far side. Having cleared the outer guards, east side is clear, Ben reported. Mara nodded. Then we hold this place. The Dreth won't be getting power from here. They set up defensive positions and waited for the next orders from command. Ren leaned against a wall, catching his breath. Mara approached him. You moved well today, she said. You kept pace. You saw the opening and took it. Ren looked at her. I am beginning to understand. You advance not just because you are strong, but because you decide where the fight happens. Mara's eyes met his. Exactly. If we let them set the pace, we lose more than ground. We lose the choice. Her words stayed in Ren's mind as they prepared for the night. Outside, the city was still in chaos, but inside the power station, the squad held their ground. Ren realized something important. This was the first time in many battles that he felt they were not only surviving, but shaping the war itself. The morning light came soft through cracked windows of the power station. Ian rubbed his tired eyes. Sleep had come in short bursts, broken by distant sounds of movement and occasional alarms. Outside, the city was waking again, though in war. Waking meant preparation for another battle. Captain Mara stood near the entrance, looking at a small holographic map. Lines moved on the display, showing the front lines and enemy positions. The humans never stopped planning. Ren joined her. What is next? He asked. We keep moving, Mara said without hesitation. The Dreth will try to take back the ground we took yesterday. If we stay here, they will surround us. We need to stay ahead of them, Ren thought. about the idea of moving constantly. On Kareth, soldiers rested after battles. They repaired weapons, healed wounds, and made strong defenses. Humans did not seem to do this. Instead, they seemed to believe that stopping was dangerous. Mara saw his expression. I know it seems strange, but waiting gives the enemy time to breathe, to regroup. We don't want that. Ren looked out at the city streets below. Already, small groups of soldiers were moving like ants, scaring supplies, setting traps, and scouting ahead. The humans treated the battlefield like a living thing that needed to be controlled. The squad packed their gear quickly. Ren checked his weapon and armor one last time. He felt a strange mix of fatigue and excitement. He was tired, but also eager to see what lay ahead. They left the power station and moved through broken streets. The city was a maze of ruined buildings and rubble, but the humans moved confidently. Mara led the way, her eyes scanning for danger and opportunity. As they walked, Ren noticed the soldiers talking less about fear and more about the next steps. Plans were made for how to cross a damaged bridge, how to use an abandoned building as a lookout, how to surprise the enemy from behind. The humans were not just fighting to survive. They were shaping the war. Suddenly, a sharp alarm rang through the comm devices. Mara stopped the squad. Enemy scouts. Close. They moved into cover behind a fallen wall. From a distance, Ren could see the Zerath scouts approaching, their weapons ready, the humans prepared, but this time they did not wait to strike. Mara ordered, "Push forward, cut them off." The squad moved fast, advancing through narrow alleys and ruined streets. Ren ran beside Mara, his heart pounding. This was different from the earlier fights. They were not waiting for the enemy to come, they were hunting. They caught the scouts before they could escape. The fight was brief but fierce. Ren felt a sharp pain in his arm when a Zerath claw grazed him, but he kept moving. After the fight, Mara checked on him. "You're strong," she said. "Don't let small wounds slow you." Ren nodded. Ignoring the ache, he was learning more. Every day, humans were not just soldiers, they were hunters and strategists. They controlled the pace of the war. The squad continued their march. The days blended into one another, a constant movement forward, small battles, quick repairs, and even quicker decisions. One evening, as they rested near a small fire, Ren asked Mara, "How do you keep going without rest, without fear?" Mara looked into the flames. "We think about what we fight for. Our homes, our families, our future. That gives us strength." Ren thought about Kareth's family, the city he had grown up in. He had thought those memories were too painful to carry in battle. But maybe he was wrong. Maybe holding on to those things was what kept humans moving. The next morning, the squad reached the edge of a large forest at the city's border. The trees were dark and thick, a sharp contrast to the broken city. Ren had heard stories that the Zerath used forests for ambushes. Mara was cautious. "We move carefully here," she said, "but we keep moving." As they entered the forest, Ren felt the weight of silence. The squad was alert, moving slowly but steadily. Suddenly, a loud noise exploded nearby. Zerath warriors burst from the trees, surrounding them. The humans reacted quickly, forming a tight circle. Ren fought beside Mara, feeling the rush of battle, but also a strange calm. The fight was intense. The forest echoed with sounds of energy weapons and clashing blades. Despite the danger, the humans never lost their order. They pushed forward, forcing the Zerath back. When the last enemy fled, Mara gathered her squad. "Good work," she said. "We are still moving forward." Ren looked at the faces around the fire that night. They were tired but determined. The march had no end, no pause. Every day was a new battle, a new step forward. He understood now. Humans did not stop to wait for fear or exhaustion. They moved because standing still meant losing everything. As Ren lay under the stars that night, he thought about the future. He was no longer just a soldier from Kareth. He was part of something larger, a force that refused to let the enemy decide the fate of the war. He closed his eyes and made a silent promise to keep moving forward no matter what. The sky was heavy with clouds, the sun hidden behind a thick gray veil. Ren felt the cold seep through his armor as the squad marched steadily. Through the ruined streets of Kerith, the city had changed. Buildings stood hollow and broken, and the smell of smoke lingered in the air. Yet the humans did not slow down. Their footsteps were firm and steady, as if they carried a silent promise to never stop. The day was quiet, but Ren knew it was only the calm before the storm. Every soldier felt it. Every step forward carried the weight of battles yet to come. As they passed a shattered statue in the city square, Ren caught sight of a small group of wounded soldiers being carried on stretchers. The medics moved quickly, their faces focused but tired. Some soldiers waved weakly at the passing squad, their eyes filled with pain and hope. Ren's heart tightened. War had cost them dearly. He wondered how the humans could keep moving, keep fighting, even after so much loss. Later that day, as the squad set up a temporary camp behind a ruined wall, Ren sat beside the fire with Mara. The flickering flames painted shadows across their faces. "You have many scars," Mara said softly. Nodding toward Ren's bruised arm and tired eyes, Ren nodded. "I have fought many battles. On Kerith, we rest after fighting. We heal. But you keep moving." Mara stared into the fire for a long moment before answering. "We do pay a price." Ren looked at her, waiting for more. "The price is high," she continued. "We lose friends. We lose parts of ourselves. But stopping means the enemy takes everything." Ren thought about the soldiers he had seen on stretchers that morning. He remembered the faces of his old unit. Some were gone, some injured, some broken by fear. The humans carried their pain differently. They did not hide it, but they did not let it stop them either. That night, Ren struggled to sleep. Memories of battles flashed through his mind, friends lost, places burned, dreams broken. Yet, alongside the pain, a new feeling grew inside him. It was not just hope. It was a fierce determination to keep moving forward, no matter the cost. The next morning, the squad was awakened by distant explosions. The Dreth were launching a counterattack to reclaim lost ground. Mara's voice was calm but firm as she gave orders. "Pack up. Move to defensive positions. We hold this line." The squad moved quickly, setting up barriers and preparing weapons. Ren helped Lena set traps along a narrow street. As the Dreth forces approached, Ren felt his pulse quicken. The enemy came in waves, strong and relentless. The humans stood their ground, firing without hesitation, pushing the Dreth back step by step. During the fight, Ren saw something he had not noticed before. Even when a soldier was wounded, the others covered him. When a friend fell, the squad did not stop. They moved forward, carrying the fallen with them when possible, or leaving them only as a last choice. Ian felt a sharp pain when a Dreth soldier's claw scratched his side. He stumbled but caught himself. Mara shouted, "Keep moving. No retreat." The battle was fierce and long, but the humans' determination never faltered. They pressed forward through exhaustion and pain, refusing to give the enemy any ground. After the fight, the squad gathered to count their losses. Yarrow, the youngest soldier, was missing. Ben's face was pale, and Lina's arm was bandaged. Ren's own wounds throbbed, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. Mara's voice was steady. "We move for those we lost. We honor them by never giving up." Ren nodded, feeling the weight of those words deep in his chest. The price was high, but so was the will to keep fighting. As the squad prepared to march again, Ren looked around at his comrades. Despite their pain and fatigue, they were ready. The humans carried a fire inside them, a fire that refused to be put out. He realized then that the reason humans always advanced was not because they were fearless, but because they fought for something greater than themselves. The morning light was pale and cold when Ren woke. He stretched stiff muscles and looked around the camp. The soldiers were quiet, focused, preparing for what they called the biggest battle yet. The air was heavy with tension, but also with hope. Captain Mara stood near the command tent, studying maps and listening to reports. Ren approached her. "Is today the day?" he asked. Mara looked at him with steady eyes. "It could be. We have a chance to break the Dreth hold on this sector." Ren nodded, feeling both excitement and fear. This battle would decide much. If they failed, Kerith's capital could fall. If they won, they could begin to push the enemy back. The squad moved out together. Ren felt a strange calm inside him. He was no longer just an outsider watching the humans. He was part of their team, sharing their will to move forward. The battle began with a heavy barrage of energy fire from the human ships above. The Dreth responded with powerful blasts, shaking the ground beneath them. Ren's squad advanced. Through ruined streets, facing waves of Dreth soldiers, the fighting was fierce and close. Ren's energy blade sang as he defended himself and helped others. Mara's voice came through the calm, clear and sharp. Push to the central plaza. Hold the power control tower. We cannot let the Dreth regain control. The squad moved with purpose, cutting through the enemy's front lines. Ren noticed how each human soldier moved, not just reacting, but acting with plans in mind. They were never lost or confused. As they neared the plaza, the Dreth launched a surprise attack from a hidden group. The humans were caught off guard, and for a moment, the line wavered. Ryan saw Mara raise her rifle and shout, "Hold the line." Her voice was strong and steady, rallying the soldiers. Ryan joined the fight with renewed strength. Together with Mara and the others, they pushed back the enemy step by step. They regained their ground. In the heat of battle, Ren realized something new. The humans did not just fight for themselves, they fought for each other. Every shout, every movement was for the squad, for the team, for the future. When they finally reached the control tower, the Dreth were desperate to stop them. But the humans held firm. Mara moved quickly to secure the controls, shutting down enemy power sources. With the power control in their hands, the tide of battle changed. The Dreth forces began to retreat. Ren looked around at his squad. Faces were tired but shining. With hope, they had done it. They had taken the fight to the enemy in one. As the Dreth withdrew, Ren felt a wave of pride and relief. But he knew this was not the end. War was still ahead. That night, around the campfire, Mara spoke softly. Today was a turning point. We showed the Dreth that we will not be pushed back. Ren listened, understanding that this victory was because of more than weapons or numbers. It was because the humans never gave up. He thought about the long march, the battles, the losses. The human strength came from inside their belief that moving forward was the only way to win. Ren looked up at the stars and made a quiet promise. He would carry this lesson with him in every fight to come. The morning air was crisp and clear as the soldiers prepared for what was expected to be the final battle of the campaign. Ren stood beside Captain Mara, looking over the battlefield before them. The Dreth had gathered their forces for one last attempt to take back Kareth's capital. The city was scarred, but it still stood. Ren felt the weight of everything he had seen and learned during this long fight. He had joined the humans as an outsider, unsure of their strange ways. Now, he was one of them, part of a team that never stopped moving forward. The humans were not the biggest army, nor did they have the strongest weapons. But they had something more powerful, a spirit that refused to give up. As the battle began, energy weapons fired across the battlefield. Soldiers shouted orders, moved quickly, and helped each other without hesitation. Ren fought beside Mara, pushing through enemy lines with steady determination. The Dreth tried to break the human ranks with waves of soldiers and heavy weapons. But the humans did not retreat. They advanced, step by step. They forced the Dreth back. Ryan thought about the first day he joined the humans. He remembered his fear, his doubt. But now, he felt a new strength inside, a strength that came from knowing that stopping was not an option. During the battle, Ren saw moments that showed why humans always advanced. When a soldier was hurt, others carried them forward. When a path was blocked, they found a new way. When hope seemed lost, they lifted each other's spirits. The humans did not just fight for victory. They fought for their friends, their homes, their future. That made their advance unstoppable. After hours of fighting, the Dreth began to fall back. The humans pressed their advantage, moving faster, stronger, with more hope than ever before. When the final Dreth soldier fled the city, Ren looked around at the faces of his comrades. They were tired, worn, but smiling. They had done the impossible. Captain Mara stood beside him and spoke softly. This is why we always advance. Because stopping means losing everything we love. Ren nodded. He knew that the lesson he had learned was more than about battle. It was about life, about courage, hope, and the will to keep going no matter what. As the sun set behind the ruined city, Ren felt proud to be part of this team. The humans had taught him that no matter the enemy, no matter the cost, the only way to win was to never stop moving forward.